Welcome back, 3MBS Melbourne. This is Arts Weekly, and I'm Paul Kruspe. And in the studio now, I have Damon Kowalski. Welcome back to 3MBS. It's great to have you here again. This is a second appearance here, isn't it?
Yes, I was here last year.
Yeah. So now Damon, for over 20 years, has travelled the world, which is I like the sound of that. But on top of that, he also makes etchings and drawings inspired by the architecture and landscape of the places he visits. And he studied printmaking at the Victorian College of the Arts and also the Glasgow School of Art. And he also studied advanced figure drawing with Godwin Bradbeer at RMIT. So he's here, as I said, you can hear it, he's here with me now. And he's going to be talking about his latest works and exhibition and, all things of the work he's doing. So tell me, Damon, you are on the move a lot and you do lots of residencies in all sorts of places across the world. Is your work an international style, or do you think it's more picking up inspiration from around the world? Why does this occur? Or you just like travelling?
Well, I do like travelling, and the world is a very big place, and there are a lot of interesting things out there, and they don't come to you. So if you want to see a particular building or a particular landscape, you have to go to it. And we're very fortunate in this age that it is easy to travel with jet planes and Skyscanner and that. And also with the communications we have, it's also comparatively easy to make contact with people in places around the world and make connections and build projects together.
And do you sort of lift a lot of inspiration from where you go to, or is it you taking Australia to those places? How does that work?
Well, it's very much about going to a place and responding to what I see. But of course, that response is mediated by everything I've seen before, as well as my upbringing in Australia and what I've learnt and studied here goes with me, as much as the places I see inform what I'm about to make. But I try to respond to the places I see, as well as the history of what I'm looking at.
And tell us a little bit, introduce the listener to your work, in terms of, obviously it's quite, we're talking about etchings, drawings, but it's a whole range of things you do, don't you?
Yes, I'm primarily a printmaker, and I work with etchings on copper plates. That's what I studied at university and have worked at full-time ever since then. Parallel to that, I do quite a lot of drawing, and that really got impetus during the COVID lockdowns when all the studios, the communal print studios in Melbourne and Victoria, were closed. I don't have a press at home, so I can't actually print. And so I was forced, or there was the necessity to continue making work and to find ways of making work that didn't involve printmaking. Subsequent to that, I've continued with the drawing, particularly when I'm in places where it's not practical to make prints. You need a press, you need acid, you need large sheets of copper, you need quite a lot of time. And drawing is a much more spontaneous and portable way of working.
I could be wrong, but there is quite a strong community, isn't there, of printmakers and across different parts, maybe the world, I don't know, but I know even in Victoria, there's quite a good, strong community, isn't there?
Yeah, so because, part of this is the functionality of the medium, which is that you have a very large, very heavy press that needs essentially a dedicated building. So it's much easier to have that centralized and then printmakers go to it than each person being atomized and having their own small studio. But there's also, because it's a craft as well as an art, there's a lot of exchange of information, and that exchange of information and interaction extends internationally. So there are print studios all around the world that welcome people, and I've certainly learnt a huge amount from working with and observing printmakers around the world who have different viewpoints and different ways of approaching the same problems. And
this, I was introduced to this. I went down the Gippsland Art Tour maybe last year, maybe the year before, and there was a number of printmakers down in the Gippsland region, probably doing it on a smaller scale from some of what you're describing. But I think, I would say it was fascinating that, the copper plate, what you need to do with that, the ink, the whole process was, it wasn't just a simple roll something through a printing press. The amount of work that goes on before you even get to that moment of printing and then the work you have to do to produce that image. It's fascinating. It's quite amazing, actually. There's a lot that goes into it.
There is. It's quite a steep learning curve as you're getting on top of that technical process. We tend to think, because we live in a digital age, that images are just instantaneous. But even if you spoke to an old school photographer, they'll tell you how many hours they put in the darkroom. And you take a photograph, you process it, but then there's a whole massive process of the printing, of making this bit darker and this bit lighter. It's none of these processes are simple and straightforward. It's perhaps more obvious in printmaking because it is so manual. But I would say that all artistic media have that kind of background.
It's wonderful. Now, sorry, we're running short on time, so I better keep this going along. It's an area that fascinates me. This is 3MBS Melbourne Arts Weekly, and I'm speaking with Damon Kowarski about his latest exhibition. Now, tell us about that exhibition that you've got down in Portland.
So it's an exhibition of etchings by my partner Hyunju Kim and I. It's work we made at Portland Bay Press in 2022 and 2023 and 2024. It's currently on and continues until the 4th of March.
Right. And how many works have you got down there at the moment?
I think it's about 16 works.
Right.
We go down to Portland about once a year. We're both members of Portland Bay Press, and we print there, have an exhibition, and then return to Melbourne.
Yeah, right. So again, there is a press there down in Portland as well.
Yeah, they've got actually a really good printmaking facility down there.
Yeah, which is, anybody who knows Portland, it's southwest Victoria. It's a town known for its aluminium smelter. So it's amazing the things that are in some of these places and where some of these printing presses probably are as well.
Yeah, and every time we're down there, we get visitors and they're completely blown away by the quality of the arts organisations down there.
Well, it's a beautiful town, so I'll put in my tourist plug here as well. It is an absolutely gorgeous town, actually, in an amazing part of Victoria, and there's lots to see down there. So I would suggest getting in the car or public transport or whatever it is and going down to Portland and seeing your exhibition and having a look around, because it's probably, I wouldn't call it a day trip out of Melbourne. You can do it, though. Some people have been crazy enough to do it, i.e. me. So I would definitely encourage people to go down. So thank you, Damon, for coming in this morning. It's wonderful to have
pleasure.
you
Thank
here
you.
this morning and back at 3MBS. And of course, always come back and tell us about your projects. Even if you're doing something internationally, you can ring through and we can have a chat with you. So I've been speaking with printmaker Damon Kowarski about his latest art project, Recent Etchings, and Hyunju Kim, which is showing at the Portland Bay Press 19th to the 21st, which is in Julia Street, Portland, Victoria. And the gallery hours are Monday to Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturdays, 10 to 1. So, as I said, make your way down there. Thank you. Thank you. Lovely to have you, Damon.